Hey everyone, welcome back to the Jays for Now podcast. I'm your host Jaden here today just to preview again the NFL playoffs as we start this weekend. Just want to specifically dive deep into Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers and why this weekend is extremely important for him to cement himself as the future quarterback in the Bay Area for the 49ers. And also, Sean McVay stepping back into coaching. What that means for the Rams is he already has made his decision after contemplating leaving football for a hiatus, just a temporary period of time. But he's made the decision to come back and coach for Los Angeles in 2023. So we'll talk about that and much more here on the podcast. But thank you guys for tuning in. As always, make sure you subscribe, check us out, and enjoy the podcast here. So again, first order of business, Brock Purdy. This guy was the last pick of the draft, 7th round, last pick. He makes the final roster, and he's behind Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance, of course. And then those two get hurt. Trey Lance gets hurt early in the season, like the first game. So then Jimmy Garoppolo's up, right? He's up. He plays all up to like mid-season or so, and then Brock Purdy has been inserted in. And this is a guy that hasn't had any NFL game action whatsoever. And he comes in, he does well, and he just plays really good. I mean, he delivers. 11 passing touchdowns in his last 5 games. He's doing a great job just with his feel of the game. He can deliver the football on time in the pocket. He knows where to go. He's a smart kid. He's very motivated. He got fire within him. And that's what you want. If you're Kyle Shanahan, in the 49ers front office, and you go and make the trade for Christian McCaffrey earlier in the year, and that's been a huge boost for them. And along with their defense being so dominant, like it always is, and you had a quarterback who's focused, like Brock Purdy, who knows what he has to do. He's locked in, he's ready to go. He's always fired up. He's ready to throw the football down the field every single play. He wants to be unleashed, and Kyle Shanahan is unleashing him. He's letting him do what he wants to do. And he's the kind of quarterback that you have to do that with. And I feel like it's going to be key this weekend, especially against the Seahawks. Is going to be key for Brock Purdy to cement himself as the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers for the near future. If he wins this weekend, if he wins in the divisional matchup, and he wins in a conference championship, if he gets them to the Super Bowl and they win, then there's no way that you can't say Brock Purdy is the starting quarterback for the 49ers. I think you can't come back to training camp in the off season if you're San Francisco and say no, Brock Purdy is your starting quarterback. You can't say he's not. There is no competition to be had, whether Trey Lance is healthy or not. I think Brock Purdy is the guy that should be starting for the 49ers. He's proven himself. The playoffs this year will be a big chance for him to ultimately prove himself, as I mentioned, and this will be his time to shine in his ultimate test. Can he play in the postseason football? Because postseason is different than regular season. The game is faster, it's sped up. It's more physical. It's tougher. And you have to be able to get the ball out your hands quick. And make timely decisions in the pocket because the game is moving so fast. And so that's going to be my thing for Brock Purdy. Can he continue to do what he's done the whole season, and just make the right decisions, not force anything if it's not there, and let it rip when it is there. You get the ball to your playmakers in space, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, and just continue to deliver the football where it needs to go. And that's what he's been doing since he came in, and he's been running this offense so well. He's got control of the offense. The guys in the locker room are behind him. And I think this is his job to lose, and his job to win. And so that's going to be key for me, for San Francisco. Obviously, of course, I mentioned with Nick Winkler on the podcast the other day that that for them, it's going to be their defense and counter defense that's been dominant this whole season. So they're ultimately going to, I think, win the game for them. But Brock Purdy can too. As long as he continues to make the right decisions. Not let the game, the speed of the game, get to him, and affect his game, and just continue to play within the game, manage it, and make the right decisions, and run the offense like it's supposed to be ran, like he's been doing since he's been playing football in San Francisco. Then there should be no issue, and I think the 49ers come away with the win. Not taking anything away from the Seahawks, but I just don't see them doing anything. I don't see them really getting past San Francisco in that formidable defense. And you put the quarterbacks up there in this year's playoffs. With Brady and Cousins, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, all these guys, right? I think as far as the power, and the effect that these quarterbacks are going to have for their teams, you have to insert Brock Purdy in that lineup as well. You have to do that because he has played amazing football. I want to give him credit here on this podcast. The job that he's done, to come in as a late pick, 7th round, Mr. Relevant, to come in and start for a team, historical championship winning team. It's always got high expectations for themselves, for the franchise. To come in and do the job that he's done. He's done phenomenal. So I want to give the credit to Brock. Keep going, man. Do your thing, and go get that win tomorrow against the Seattle Seahawks. So I just want to give that out to Brock Purdy there. But moving on, the Los Angeles Rams, have announced that head coach Sean McVay will be returning to LA for the 2023 season after contemplating his future in coaching, whether he's going to come back or leave. He's decided to come back and coach for the Rams in 2023. McVay is 60-38 in 6 seasons as the head coach for the Los Angeles Rams. So this is big, obviously, for the Rams. Now, they went 5-12 this year after making the Super Bowl and winning it last year. Just, had a lot of injuries going on, had some, players that weren't playing to their possible potentials, and they weren't playing all that well. And you had a lot of things going on within the team that are hard to manage, especially after coming off a Super Bowl win, and you have to come back out here and you're trying to defend that title, right? And when you're not able to do that because you have injuries and you have guys in and out the lineup, you have issues just with a lot of things going on, that are going on that happen in football, in sports. It's hard to continue to do that. So for the Rams, and then they get Baker Mayfield towards the near the end of the year, and he comes in, does a solid job filling in for Stafford. So the question is, for the Rams, what is your future looking like at the quarterback position? I understand Matthew Stafford, they're locked up to him for the next couple of years. So however, that this depends, I think, on the way Matthew Stafford plays these next couple of years. Obviously, he got a concussion before. That's what ended his season early this year. So how is he going to play coming back off of that injury next year? And is he still a starting quarterback in his NFL? Yeah, he's a Super Bowl champion. He's a starting quarterback, great quarterback for the Lions all his years there. He comes to LA and Cooper Kupp and and Odell, just the great defense they had, Jalen Ramsey, they just had a great team last year, greatly constructed team, they bring Matthew Stafford in to be the leader of that team, and they did rally behind them, and they were able to win the Super Bowl just narrowly. So that tells me, that can he continue this level of play moving forward into 2023? Is he still your starting quarterback? I think the Rams really do need to look into the draft at a quarterback, just because you just don't know, right? You might have this injury situation again, of course, God forbid that happen, but you might have injuries again, or just Matt's play might start to dip, his level of play could start to descend. You're going to need a quarterback that's going to be able to come in and step in, and get you back to winning football games and get you back to where you want to be, which is the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. So that's going to be a big thing, I think, for the Rams looking forward into the offseason for them. Is can they continue to get that consistent play at the quarterback position? So that's going to be my big thing for Los Angeles. But in injury news, for you guys, just so you know, Raheem Mostert, running back for the Miami Dolphins, is out. He's already been ruled out for Sunday's wildcard game versus the Bills due to a thumb injury. Giants cornerback Adoree Jackson has been listed as active, and he will play Sunday versus the Vikings. He had a knee injury that's been keeping him out for a good chunk of the last couple weeks of the season. So he's back in the lineup. Mike Williams, wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers, part of that great duo with him and Keenan Allen, is out against the Jags on Saturday because of a back injury. So it's going to be really tough for the Chargers there, as they won't have their second half of that great dynamic duo with him and Keenan Allen. Mike Williams, such a great possession catcher. He can go out and get the football anywhere. Great receiver, great route running. He's a good. He's a really good football player. And, he catches almost anything you throw at him. He's a great football player, physical receiver, but they won't have him unfortunately against the Jaguars due to that back injury. So he's been already ruled out with that matchup. I think that game's gonna be big for the Chargers. I really think that's gonna be like that game is probably gonna save Brandon Staley's job as head coach, because if he can't win this game, against Jacksonville, I just don't. I don't see him continuing to be the head coach for the Los Angeles Chargers going into 2023. I just don't see it because again, they have the more talented team, I just but by not by that much, but by a good number. They're a little bit more talented than the Jaguars are as a whole. You got Justin Herbert, of course, and Trevor Lawrence, both great quarterbacks. This will be their first postseason starts of their career, so I'm excited to see how that goes. And so yeah, I mean, Austin Eckler out the backfield is an amazing back. He's a great running back, great out receiving out the backfield as well. So I expect him to get the ball early and often. And so the thing for me is, can the Jacksonville defense hold them in check? It should be a little bit easier without Mike Williams out there. So they might try to focus all their attention onto Keenan Allen. Just to kind of keep him under wraps, and just play defense like they've been playing. And the thing about the Jaguars, I tell people, man, they just have a good team. They fought to get here, but the thing with them is they make timely plays. They make timely plays. They're there at the right time, right place, making those interceptions, making those fumble recoveries, punching the ball out, whatever it may be, making those tackles on fourth down. The Jags defense is not great by any means, but they make plays when they need to be made. That's what I think is going to help Jacksonville in this year's playoffs, and I think that's what's going to help them maybe possibly knock off a top team, in the AFC. I mean, if they were to beat the Chargers, which is a possibility, with them not having Mike Williams out there on offense, then I can see them challenging a top AFC seed, like maybe the Bills or the Bengals, or the Chiefs even. Who knows? I mean, this Jags team is a team that they come to play every week, and they believe that they can beat anybody. So that's going to be my thing there for the Jags, as far as can they get their defense to continue to make those timely plays as they have always done. So, that's going to be key for me. And in other news, the Saints have announced that Dennis Allen will be the head coach in 2023. So he's coming back to coach New Orleans next year. Mickey Loomis, the owner, already announced that. So Dennis Allen will be back in New Orleans on the sidelines coaching. His former boss, Sean Payton, has already interviewed a couple of spots. Of course, he's already scheduled to interview the Broncos, if he hasn't done so already, and I'm sure the Cardinals as well. The Cardinals will also be interviewing Steelers linebacker coach Brian Flores for their head coaching position. They are also interviewing Vance Joseph, their defensive coordinator, as well for the head coaching position. So a lot of coaching news going on there in that carousel, but I don't expect any hires to be made until like maybe the next couple of weeks, as after the wild card round, after we get kind of more into the playoffs here. So just be looking out for that. We'll also update you all the news that we get here as well, on that spectrum there as well. But I think it's going to be it's the NFL playoffs. What more can you ask for? You got the 49ers and the Seahawks, man, rivalry. You got the Jags and the Chargers, the Ravens, Bengals. I think the Bengals, of course, are going to win this game because Lamar Jackson is hurt and he hasn't signed his contract extension yet. What does that mean for the Ravens? Because obviously you don't sign him to this point in the year, he's not going to sign. He's not playing under the franchise tag. So the big question, I think, is going to be in every team's mind this offseason, when the NFL season is eventually over, when the confetti has fallen for the Super Bowl champion, whoever that's going to be, is where is Lamar Jackson going to go? And that's going to be the big question. Where's he going to go? And a lot of teams come to mind. You could say the Saints could be an option. They seem promising. They got talented receivers. Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, out there. As well as Alvin Kamara out the backfield. Just a dynamic offensive group of players right there when they're healthy and they continue to stay on the field consistently, which they've had trouble with over the last couple of years with Thomas and Kamara. More so Michael Thomas, but if they can stay on the field and they can stay healthy for a good chunk of the season, that's a lethal group of players right there, and if they're used correctly, that's a lethal group of players right there. And then defense, you got a good defense. The Saints still have a solid defense. And Mario Davis, of course, in the middle. Marshawn Lattimore at the outside corner position. Paulson Adebo's making strides. At the corner position. And Alontae Taylor, the rookie that they drafted, he's played good this year. And he hasn't played much, but he's played good. So he's continuing to get reps under his belt. It's going to continue to grow him. So, I think that's going to be key. For New Orleans there. But Lamar, and then you also got the Miami Dolphins. I mean, depending on what happens with Tua Tagovailoa, I personally think, this is Tua's decision, but I personally think that he needs to retire at this point because, the concussions, the injuries, and they keep piling up. You don't want that, to keep just deteriorating you, as a person, right? Football is just a game. It's a sport. We love it, but at the same time, yes, it's a game. It's not your life, and so I wouldn't want him, because Tua's a great person, great humble kid. He's a good dude. You wouldn't want that. Wouldn't want to keep risking your life. Especially you've dealt with injuries in the past. Is something that you have a problem with. And I think the best thing for him to do would possibly be to hang it up. So that would leave the Dolphins in a situation where, hey, we need a quarterback. Lamar's a free agent. We got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, 3 great receiving options right there. And of course, we've got a decent backfield, offensive-minded coach who knows how to use his players correctly. And that's going to be in his second year of knowing this roster, knowing their capabilities, knowing their strengths, knowing their weaknesses. So that's the Dolphins can make a promising suitor to Jackson also. And now this is one of my friends told me about this the other night. The Detroit Lions this is a sleeper option. I mean, you think about it, are they completely committed to Jared Goff, as their future quarterback? I'm not sure. So I mean, could they make a push for Lamar? I just, you have to understand that when a player like that becomes available, a lot of teams are going to be knocking at the door of trying to get him to sign. Now, I think it's going to be similar to the Deshaun Watson situation where he's going to want every penny guaranteed. So whatever team is going to be willing to match that and give him what he wants exactly, that team has a good chance of getting him to their roster if they look promising, to him, and a lot of Falcons fans, including myself, want Lamar to come to Atlanta. It would be fun, but I just don't think the Falcons are in a position to where it looks enticing enough for him to come. I mean, you don't. I say maybe in 2 years it would probably be. Lamar would probably have to wait like a year or two before we actually contenders. I mean, they got Drake London, he's great, but they don't really have any other viable receiving options, so that's something that they need to go out and get. Defense is still a work in progress, as it's been like the last 6 years. So that's still a work in progress, and they're slowly maturing, they're slowly getting better. It's going to be I wouldn't say a rebuild, but it's a restarting process, just a jump process, and the Falcons just need a jumper, and this is what it needs, so they need the time to just continue to mature and grow, finding a new defensive coordinator to continue to develop that defense up, and can Drake London continue to grow as a receiver and be a number 1 NFL receiver? Who knows, so that's going to be key there for Lamar Jackson and where he ends up going. So I'm interested to see what happens with that. Of course, Lamar is out for Sunday's matchup against the Bengals. He won't be playing, so it'll be Tyler Huntley to get the start for the Ravens there against Joe Burrow and Cincinnati Bengals. In other news, also the potential Bills and Chiefs AFC championship game will be played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium here in Atlanta. NFL has announced that the other day, but I just wanted to reiterate for those who probably haven't heard. So that potential AFC Championship game between the Chiefs and the Bills will be played at a neutral site here in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So that, just so you guys are aware of that. But that about wraps us up here for the podcast today. If you have any thoughts, comments, let me know. Questions in the comment section. About podcasting, who your predictions are for the weekend here, wild card weekend, first round NFL playoffs. We're happy we made it. Enjoy this weekend of football. Make sure you guys catch all those games there. Fox, CBS, they're going NBC. They're going to have the coverage here this weekend of the NFL playoffs, first round 2022 NFL playoffs, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next time on Jay's Fit Down.